Looking at golf now, you've got 18 to 34-year-olds playing like they've never played before. Women, that demographic growing exponentially. So how do you capitalize on this moment in golf?
Well, I think with all the programs that the PGA of America does, helps with the retention in the game, helps with the growth of the game. Since the pandemic, when we haven't used the word social distancing in a long time, but where you could get families together, playing the game together, and we've seen this multi-generational growth, getting the parents and grandparents, getting the younger generation into the game. So we've seen that explosion. We have more golfers today than we've ever had in the game. Close to 28 million people in this country are playing the game. 550 million rounds of golf were played last year.
And all eyes, of course, will be on the Ryder Cup and Bethpage Black. This really gives you a good opportunity to show what you can do at the PGA of America. PGA America, of course, that represents the teaching golf professionals. You are in charge of the Ryder Cup. You own and operate it. You own and operate PGA championships as well. So talk about how you can really expand your global footprint in a somewhat divided golf world.
Right, well, again, the difference between the PGA Tour and the PGA of America is we own majors on every tour. We have a KPMG Women's PGA Championship, the Senior PGA Championship, the PGA Championship for the men, and of course the Ryder Cup being played sort of in the backyard here of New York City. So really, when you look at that, and the Ryder Cup really is the global event, if you will, with Europe against the Americans here. And that really, when we look at the economic impact that the Ryder Cup will be this year, we have 260 corporate partners. 30 of those are global from around the world, where you normally don't see that at any of the other championships.
And you've been to 9 of them, 9
Right.
Ryder Cups. So
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that, how you're seeing more of that global footprint there?
Well, I think, when you look at the European team that was just announced on Monday, we see those faces every week, playing the regular tour. We see them in our majors, and of course we'll see them at the Ryder Cup. So, yeah, exactly. Those, the global impact of those players playing around the globe, it just helps grow the game globally.
And economically, what do you expect to see, especially in this area?
Well, I think, this will generate close to $200 million economic impact just in this 1 week here. They're building a small city at a Bethpage Black there. And this is an incredible stat. We had 500,000 people pre-register to get tickets for the Ryder Cup. Just to show you the unprecedented demand for this event. We had over 30,000 people apply to be a volunteer at this year's Ryder Cup. And we put, close to 4,000 people to work building this small city out there. So it's a huge economic impact. Golf is a $102 billion a year industry, and the PGA of America is doing its part, especially with the Ryder Cup.
I want to talk economically about the changes that you've seen. Again, you've done 9 Ryder Cups up until now. I want to talk about how the differences you've seen in terms of what people are willing to spend, the global aspect of the entire thing and the fan experience.
Well, I think corporate America and fans alike love live sporting events. That's what we're sort of in the business with our 4 spectator championships. And the corporate environment, their clients and their employees want to have those, sort of experiences that you can't find anywhere else. Attending a Ryder Cup, attending a PGA Championship, one of our majors really provides an experience for those corporate partners and their clientele. So we're on the right path. It's been booming. I've been involved for a number of years now, as you mentioned, and the product has changed a little bit. We have triple deckers, so we have 3-story high tents and out of Bethpage and 2-story venues there as well. 74,000 square feet of retail. I mean, it's really an incredible city that they're building out there.
We frequently talked about the changes that you see in the game of golf. Largely the biggest one, of course, is the LIV Tour. Now, while your tour is different than the tour that represents the elite pros, what do you see the trajectory of this?
Well, I think it's, again, we're 2 different organizations. The PGA of America has allowed the LIV players to play in our major championships in the Ryder Cup. And we have Bryson DeChambeau as a LIV member. We'll be playing on our American team this year. But yeah, I think it's shed a lot of light on the elite sport in the game, and I think that's helped put a lot of eyeballs on golf. I think it's helping the retention rate, and certainly these pros have benefited for large purses. That has put some focus on the associations and the PGA Tour and the partners, the corporate partners coming up with these large purses. So, but I think again, overall, it's great to include the LIV players in our championships, because the golf consumer wants to see the best players in the world, and they can do that at the PGA Championship and this year's Ryder Cup.
So in that aspect, you're seeing them play together in certain tournaments, and the bigger names of golf are in both. Eventually, do you think that they merge? If you had to pull your crystal ball out, where do you see this going?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be more of a question for the tour, but I think it's too early to tell. I mean, there's been a lot of chatter that there probably won't be any reconciliation, but I think that's okay. I think now we got a new CEO at the PGA Tour that I've already met, Brian Rolap, and he's my counterpart, and we've already been talking about ways to make sure that we strengthen the game at the elite level. So it'll be good to work with him.
Golf has gotten more popular of late because you see younger players, they're taking a more casual approach to this. You see them on the social media. Now, you represent tour pros from across the country, many that have been in the game for a really long time. So how do you marry the more traditional base and what we're seeing right now in the change?
Well, again, like I said earlier, I think, the pandemic did a lot for people to take up the game. There wasn't a lot going on. Golf was viewed as a safe sport. The PGA of America actually did a lot of work with the White House to get golf to be able to be played during that time. And I think we're seeing the fruits of that labor of getting those people to play. And that young demographic, I think most business executives would say when they get attached to something, they're all in. It's not like they're just going to flirt with a sport for a couple days or a couple weeks. When they're all in and they make the decision to play our sport, golf, they're all in. And our PGA professionals are the best in coaching. They're teaching them how to play the game better, whether it's individual lessons or group lessons. And then we have great programs like PGA Junior League. We'll have some PGA Junior Leagues out there in the uniforms at the Ryder Cup. And some of the Ryder Cup team, how cool is this? Like Cam Young and Scotty Scheffler, they played on the Junior Ryder Cup team, which will also play on the Thursday out at Bethpage, just the future stars. So again, that 18 to 34 demographic, the best players in the world, if you look at our team this year, they're in that demographic. They're playing at a high level, and then the consumers are taking up the game. They see them and they want to play just like them, and the PGA coaches can help them.
When you see that younger demographic and you see the technology, you see AI available. I was at the PGA headquarters right outside of Dallas in Frisco. The technology there can knock your socks off. Talk about how that will change the game.
Yeah, I mean, at our PGA headquarters in Frisco, Texas, we have all the latest and greatest technology because we train all our future PGA members and professionals. So we have to provide the latest and greatest. And we have an innovation person on our team that is always looking. Every week we're getting 2 or 3 pitches to say, hey, here's our new innovative stuff, a lot of it with AI now. And whether it's launch monitors or technology to improve your putting stroke, it's all starting to be infused with AI. So we're staying on top of that. We're making sure that we're training our associates with the state-of-the-art technology. As you saw, we have like 7 simulators out there, agnostic, not with any one particular company, because when they graduate from there, they got to be able to work with it all, and then we got all our putting labs there. So it's really preparing our PGA members at our headquarters in Frisco. And you're right, artificial intelligence is going to be part of our game going forward. Our PGA professionals probably be using their smartphones to track your shots and speed and spin rates and all that. So it's coming down the pipe fast.
How do you think technology is really changing the game?
Well, I think, this younger generation, a lot of them played video games and they love technology. And I think, I've heard so many times where people say, well, I played golf, in my living room, but now I'm playing on the golf course. And I think it's transitioning over. They love the gadgets and it just gets them to consume the game so much. And I see so many people now, you're wearing yardage rangefinders on your wrist, how far away am I to the hole and stuff like that. So technology really, I think, has helped retain golfers and sort of made it cool for them to be part of the game. It's not your traditional sport anymore. It's more of a fun and technology-infused sport.
When you look at the game of golf and the media landscape now, there's so many different ways to consume any type of sport that you really want to see. And you're seeing with certain teams, they have their own network now. What is the future of that with the game of golf?
Yeah, I think, that's I think what makes the Ryder Cup so unique is a team sport, and then we've seen at the college level, and then you go all the way down to our PGA Junior League. We have 77,000 juniors playing team sports, and it's a great way for them to get in the sport. They feel like it's a little bit of a safe environment. They got their friends along for the ride, and they got their jerseys on, and they got a little bit of that security blanket with them, and they're playing in a fun and social setting. It does get competitive, and I think, I said when we purchased PGA Junior League back in 2015, I said it's not going to be too long before we're going to see people playing the Ryder Cup on the Ryder Cup team that played in a PGA Junior League team. We've already seen them go from Junior Ryder Cup to the real Ryder Cup. It won't be a few more years probably before we'll see junior leaguers that play there. But yeah, team sports it helps grow the sport. We play, this sport is played with foursomes generally speaking. So again, to have that social nature is something fun to do. And we talked about technology, but I think one of the beauties of the sport is getting away from that technology, maybe for a period of time, to just get out there in the beautiful environment, enjoy the views and the golf courses, and get away from the office and technology for a little bit.
Well, when you look at the technology, when you see, obviously you can see in your office, I assure you, you can see everything right and wrong with your swing. But is there also a time where you got to get out on the course and really look at your game?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's neat about PGA Frisco and our headquarters there, when our partnerships with the Omni Hotel Group, and we have two amazing golf courses. We have our 27 PGA Championship coming up there. We had our women's and our senior PGA already there in 23 and 25. So we literally have a golf course out our back door. So these associates come in and train. We have 300 employees that love the game of golf as well, and they can literally go out, they can hit balls on the driving range right out our doors, or they can go play a couple championship golf courses. We got a short course right there, and we got a 2-acre putting green. All the short course and the putting green are lit, and just adds to the fun of the sport.
Do you see a world where golf more broadly embraces rule changes or different formats? Like you see things like the match, and they're playing at night. Do you see shorter rounds, more sim-based content?
Yeah, I think, what is golf, right? And if you, sort of the National Golf Foundation is our research arm for the industry, and it used to be, well, we're just going to count 18-hole rounds, but if you play 9 holes, is that a round of golf? If you play a short course, like called the Swing at PGA Frisco, we have our finance group every day goes out from noon to 1:15 and plays the quick 10-hole loop. Is that golf? Absolutely. So I think these varied forms of golf, whether it's on course or then at sites like Top Golf where it's off course, I think all of that is part of the sport and part of the lure of it. And I think you're seeing people go from their couch and video games to maybe these Top Golf venues to on course, whether it's short course, 9 holes or 18 holes. So yeah, it's all golf, and we're helping develop all that in many aspects.
In an era where we are seeing more and more private equity in sports, what kind of pools do you think golf should be looking at to increase revenue?
Well, I think, certainly with great assets like the Ryder Cup and PGA Championship and our other majors, the seniors and the women's, private equity is getting in all types of sports right now. SSG just got involved with the PGA Tour a little over a year ago. And so because golf and the demographic that it represents in the world, like I said, is a $102 billion industry. So private equity is looking to see how they can get in that industry as well. So I'm sure that's why SSG got in with the PGA Tour, and these other private equity companies are getting involved with other sports to sort of see how they can grow those products and improve them.
About 3 weeks from now, you'll be at Bethpage Black. But just recently, Keegan Bradley announced his captain's pick for the Ryder Cup team. First of all, were you surprised he wasn't a playing captain?
Personally, I wanted Keegan to play just because I remember watching him in 2012 at Medina. I think he was levitating on the first tee. He was so pumped up, and the adrenaline was palpable. But at the end of the day, what he said at his press conference, what just resonated with me, he said, I signed up to be the captain, and he stuck to his game plan, and I respect the heck out of him for doing that. And I think he's going to have more impact as a captain because he'll be in his cart, he'll be racing around Bethpage Black with all 4 groups. We have 4 matches in the morning, 4 in the afternoon on both Friday and Saturday, then all 12 play on Sunday. So he'll be more impactful as a non-playing captain in my estimation.
One thing that really stuck out to me at that announcement was when he said when he began earlier in his career that he kind of kept to himself. He went home at the end of the day and he viewed everybody out there somewhat like competitors, and how much he's learned from the team watching that group together. And you could certainly tell with the captain's choices that that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think he really showed his vulnerability there, right? That he's really grown as a person, grown as a player. And I thought what was important, and I'm sure the other players on his team and other players around the world took notice, is that, and I think we've seen it in the last couple of years, is that he's played better. So I think he said, geez, you know, I don't need to just go to the office, hit balls, play my round of golf, and race home. He's starting to socialize, starting to talk to the players. He wanted to get to know a lot of the players that he had on his radar, but it's made him a better player and a better person. And I thought that was really, really exciting and interesting to see during the captain's announcement. I think everybody took that away like you did.
10 years from now, what do you see the game of golf looking like, both economically and sports-wise?
Yeah, I see it's going to continue to grow. You know, just 10 years ago when I was on the board of the PGA, it was an $82 billion industry. Here we are 10 years later, it's 102. You know, I can see that being north of 120, 130 billion dollar industry that we're in. And it'll be interesting on the sports. I think people will continue to love to attend live sporting events. I think you'll see your corporate environments on these small cities that we build will change over time. They'll probably get higher end. I mean, at this year's Ryder Cup, we have VVIP experiences where we're going to helicopter people in from the city, and you know, backdoor entrances and stuff. Just these people want this. There's a lot of wealth in and around live sports, and certainly with golf, and it's helped us shape our corporate hospitality products at our venues.
Before I let you go, I do want to know, you played golf with a lot of people. What is the most unique round you've ever played?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to play with a lot of tour pros, and this will probably be a boring answer, but you know, anytime I can play with my kids, my family, is really a joy. And you know, I can remember walking down the fairway with my son, who was 16 years old at the time, and I said, just think, I said, we can play this sport for another 70 years or so. My grandfather took up the game of golf at age 74, so anybody in the audience out there, is never too late to take up the sport. But I've had the good fortune to play with great players like Bernard Langer. When you talk about longevity, right? And that guy's in his mid-60s, I think, and can play as good as the best players in the world. And he is so disciplined in his workouts, in his game of golf, but also with his family and his faith and stuff. And I can just remember when I played with him, just in awe, say, I mean, this guy he's like, you know, he's German, so I said, he's just like a German automobile, finely tuned, finely engineered, and he was just a joy to play with, and such a gentleman that I really remember that round of golf with him.
And I can't ask you to pick your favorite course because I know that's challenging, but certainly your most memorable one that everyone here that plays golf or enjoys it should make sure to get to.
Yeah, I mean, right here in your backyard, Bethpage Black is just incredible. You know, as Keegan said, our captain, you know, it used to be New York's course as a public park, but it's going to be America's course here in a few weeks. But I've had the good fortune of playing some of the finest private courses in the world. I love playing. I played Cypress Point, you know, hearing the ocean crashing in and the seals barking on the rocks out there was memorable because they have a lot of inland holes as well. So you go from hearing the ocean to very peaceful and then ending near the ocean. That was pretty memorable.